Okay, so here's a video walkthrough of both the Gum Lab and the SeaMonkey Lab. Some people are starting to get it, but if you're having trouble, hopefully this video will finally clear things up. First off, let's take a look at the Gum Lab. Now, and please don't write these numbers down because you had different numbers than I do. And even between periods, we had different numbers because we were sampling a different number of desks. We had different number of gum counts. So this is just a sample. For example, if I was a student in 5th period and my number of randomly generated desks, which is what I gave you here, like this. So, I'm going to write down desk 25, 6, 2, and 27. So let's come back. Now, don't write these down because, again, it varies from period to period. Some periods didn't sample desk 27. Let's just say, for the sake of this sample, that I did. I would have all these numbers down. Okay, I'm not going to write a bunch of fake numbers. So I'll just put, let's just say desk 25, and again, don't write this down. Let's say it had 10. Let's just say desk number 6, they counted 9. Let's just say desk number 2, they counted 12. And let's just say at desk number 27, they counted, 12. Again. All right. So our big A. Your big A depends on how many desks your class sampled. So yes, I know there's 32 desks, but we didn't collect, in every period, we didn't collect data on 32 desks. There was one class, there was like 6 missing desks, so we didn't have all 32 numbers. So let's just say we didn't have data for desk 16 and we didn't have data for desk 14. Okay. So how much data did we have? Well, since we had no data here, no data here, that means our big A was 30. Again, this will vary class to class. And at the very end of the video, if you want, I will show you what numbers each period should have had. All right. So this is like 30 square. I'm not going to draw 30 squares, but this is like having a very large area like this. We've talked about before. Okay. You don't want to count all of them. I don't want to go count the gum in all 30 desks. Okay. So I'm going to take a sample of 4 desks. So 1, 2, 3, 4 that were randomly generated for me. So imagine there's 30 squares, but I'm not going to draw 30 squares. But we're going to sample 4 out of the 30. Okay, so immediately I begin setting up my equation. 30 desks total, because again, we're missing 2. We didn't sample 2 of them. Divided by 4 desks. Now, how much gum was in the 4 things that we sampled? So 12 plus 12 is 24. 34 plus 9 should be 43, like that. And now that becomes my little n, 43. Let the equation do the work. 30 divided by 4 times how many pieces of gum were in my 4 samples, 43. And it's giving me a population estimate of 322.5. If you wrote this down as 323 because you rounded up, also fine. All right. Next up, what about this? So it says for all of SC, there's 86 classes and there are 32 desks in each. Some of you are writing 86. You have to think about, what does big A mean? Big A is what you're counting. We're not counting classes. We're counting desks. Those are our squares. Okay. So let's just say there's 86 classes and there's 32 desks in each. So that turns into 86 times 32 gives us how many desks total, or our big A. So let's bring our calculator back. Going to get a pretty big number here. 86 times 32. Big A should be 2,752 desks on campus. All right. Sorry about the thing keeps phasing in and out. All right. How many desks did we sample? So these are like two separate problems here. Now, little a again depends period to period. Now, in this case, how many desks did we sample total? So there was 32 desks. We didn't get data for 2 of them. So we actually sampled in this fake one 30 desks. Okay. And how many pieces of gum total were there? So I would need to add up all the data. So all this data. So the 43 pieces of gum plus everything else in. Listen, to save you time, I will show you the total. So don't freak out. I will show you the total. In this case, I'm just going to say there is 87 pieces. Okay. Just for number's sake. Now I need to calculate how many pieces of gum are underneath all the desks here at Silver Creek. So my big A is 2,752 divided by, this number varies from class to class. In my sample, it's 30 times 87. Because this is how many pieces I counted underneath all 30 desks. All right. So 2,752 divided by 30 times 87. In this case, it's estimating that the total pieces of gum underneath all the desks at Silver Creek is 7,980.79. I'm just going to round to 7,981. Okay. So that's how you do this one. Again, I will put up the numbers for each of the classes later on. Okay, so what about here? Sea monkeys. Okay, cool. We had a total of 4,000 mLs worth of sea monkeys. So that is our big A. So instead of squares, we have 4,000 mLs. No one is going to count how many sea monkeys are in 4,000 mLs. Okay. What we did is each person went in and took out a 1 ml sample. So I'm going to say this was 10. Again, it depends on what you counted. Let's just say the other person counted 5 and this person counted 15, like that. Okay. So what's our total count? So 15 plus another 15, we counted 30 sea monkeys. So what is A? This is really important to the test. It's not that you did 3 counts. It's how many mLs did you sample. Okay, so be very careful. Okay. This was, so each one is 1 ml. So 1 ml, 2 mLs, 3 mLs. We sampled 3 mLs total. Here's why this matters. What if I asked you, instead of to pull up 1 ml, what if I asked you to pull up 2 mLs? This changes, because then this would have been 2 mLs, 4 mLs, 6 mLs. You would have sampled 6 mLs. So pay attention. It's not about how many times. So little a is not how many times you sampled. It's about your sample area size. And in this case, you would have sampled 6 mLs. All right, so just be careful with that. Little n, how many total were there in the 3 mLs that your group sampled? In this case, 30. All right, set up the equation. 4,000 mLs that we don't want to count. We did count 3 mLs in this particular case, and we found 30 sea monkeys in those 3 mLs. Set our equation, do the rest of the work. 4,000 divided by 3 mLs times 30. And it says, we're definitely going to round this number, there's about 40,000 sea monkeys in there. Like that. That's it. Now for the flowers, I will give you the actual number. Just kind of let me show you my process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count to 100. I'm going to mark where I stopped and put a little tick mark up here. And then I'm going to count my next 100, put a little tick mark. And then I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to just keep adding tick marks and keeping track of where I'm at. So, you know, when I restart this video, you'll see the little tick marks. So I end up getting 228. If I'm off, somebody will correct me. And then we're using our randomly generated numbers to see what random sampling says that we have. But you're going to compare it to the actual. And again, you will probably not get this actual number. So total number of sunflowers, actually this is the 228 right here. And you'll compare it to your n. Now I can't do this because I don't know what your 10 numbers are. So maybe you sampled one here, one here, one here, there. And this is why, you randomly generate. Because even like on an unconscious level, I'm probably being biased to the ones that I'm selecting. So in this case, you sample basically one from every letter. And then you try to predict how many you have. And then just tell me, was your estimate higher or lower than it should have been? You're rarely going to get the right number. So if you get 230, great. If you get 220, great. Really what I'm looking at was the setup done correctly. So big A, I can tell you. So it's 10 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 by 10, we're sampling 100 squares. How many squares did you sample? So you sampled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You sampled 10 squares. What was your little n? Don't know. It depends on your counts. And then you're solving for big N and comparing it to the actual. All right. Hopefully you found that helpful.